As a trader, it is absolutely important to stay on top of the big stories, even if you rely primarily on chart reading and technical analysis, because there's nothing worse than being caught off guard by something that everyone else in the market was anticipating. Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Lean, and in this video, I'll walk you through my 10-minute fundamental analysis routine. We follow this routine every single day when we hunt for our zip trades. Yes, that's all it takes, 10 minutes to get all of the big stories and understand the context for price movements. Now, if you want to take more time and deep dive in some of the current market issues, that's awesome. But it's not necessary to get what you need to start trading. So the very first thing that you want to do when you start your day is to look at the economic calendar. Figure out what was released overnight and what is expected in today's session. So my favorite economic calendar, partly because I helped build it, was the daily FX calendar. And the reason why I like it is because it's very comprehensive. It pretty much includes everything that, that is going to come out that you need to know, including speeches and other, votes and big events. So every single day when I start my trading day, I will pull up the economic calendar and I'll look, usually US data hasn't been released. So I'll look overnight to see, I'll scroll down what economic reports were released, in New Zealand, China, Australia, Japan, anything that I needed to know. And so I'll scan that to give me a sense of whether data overnight was supportive or, hurt the currency. Then I'll look at what came out during the European session. And in this day, there was nothing during the European session, but there may have been something from the Eurozone or from the UK that was important to pay attention to. And I'll look at what is coming out for the day. And usually when we look at the economic calendar, there's some releases from the US that will, in this specific day, there was non-farm payrolls that will tell me whether or not, I should be avoiding US dollar trades or, it doesn't matter because there's nothing ahead of me that I could be sabotaging my trade. Now, that's where you would look for economic data and the calendar as a whole. Even if you're looking forward to a week, there's a lot of information here that you can get a sense of not just, what is coming out today, but what is coming out in the week ahead. Because sometimes, if you have a non-farm payrolls report, that could be something that the market's thinking about for the whole day, for the whole week. So even though it may only be happening on Friday, it could be something that drives market flows throughout the week. And that's also true of central bank rate decisions. But in terms of speed, when the economic number comes out, where do you get the fastest news? Daily FX is not your fastest resource. My FX book has a good calendar that updates pretty quickly. And also, Forex Factory has a good calendar that also updates pretty quickly as well. And I'll show this to you in a second. But I would have to say, the Forex Factory calendar also updates quickly, especially for the key reports. But I have to say, the most important resource for trading is really Twitter. And we'll talk about that in a second because any piece of economic data that comes out usually is updated the quickest on Twitter. And not only that, usually there's context. So for example, I'm going to show you my tweet deck for a second. And, we're going to skip ahead to what we were looking at, we're going to talk about later. But here, as soon as non-farm payrolls came out, where my mouse is hovering, the number came out, within seconds of the release, and you got the headline number, you got the unemployment rates. So that really is all you need. You don't need another resource. So, if you're looking for speed in terms of economic data release, I would turn to Twitter. So back to what I was talking about. The first thing I do in the day is I check the calendar to find out, what was released and what is expected to be released. Then I will check my charts. I will check to see, what is the equity market doing? What is the bond market doing? And, which are the strongest currencies? Which are the weakest currencies? And, you can find that I like to use Tradingview. I should have had this up already, but I have multiple computers. So, I just look at Tradingview on my watch list. Here, I'll look, quickly, what are equity markets doing? What are Dow futures doing? I'll look at what's the best performing currency. Right now, at this point, you can see dollar yen's the best performing currency. But on this given day, Aussie dollar was actually the strongest starting the New York session. But the first thing I'll do is look at the calendar. The second thing I'll do is get a sense of where the market sentiment is by looking at the charts. Is it risk on, risk off? and the equity market will tell me that. Are we pro-dollar? Are we anti-dollar? U.S. Treasury yields will tell me that. And then which currencies are underperforming, outperforming, and that's simply the percentage change in the chart. The third thing I'll do is I will turn on my TweetDeck. And, if you're a trader, there's nothing more valuable than TweetDeck. It's a completely free resource. Just go to tweetdeck.com and attach your Twitter account. And when you attach your Twitter account, you can create these different feeds. So this is my aggregate feed of all the feeds that I follow. And then I create columns for people that like. If you like me, you can create a column for me. But I feel like, if you're a trader and you're looking for speed and comprehensiveness in resource and information, you should be following Forex Live, News Squawk, Investing Calm. I like Zero Hedge, even though Boris, has a very strong opinion about, their political leanings. Reuters is also very good, and some other resources that you can use. But I feel like these are the most important resources that you can have when you are trading. And I actually have my TweetDeck on and open throughout the course of the day. So the first thing I'll do is I'll check my calendar for what was released and what's expected. The second thing is I'll get a sense of market sentiment by looking at the charts. The third thing I'll do when I start my day is I'll just scan the Forex Live headlines to make sure that I am aware of all of the big events and stories that are look, they're retweeting me here. Some of the events and stories that are happening. Like, for example, I don't see this right now, but sometimes overnight, European officials like ECB President Lagarde may say something, and Forex Live will definitely pick it up. If it's important, they will cover it. So I feel like all you really need is just to scan the Forex Live headlines, which takes just a minute or two. Scan the News Squawk headlines, although they're very much more focused on stocks, and then Investing Calm. Although Investing Calm doesn't really update until the New York Open, sometimes you'll get some valuable information here. And I personally really like the comprehensiveness of Zero Hedge, so I like to scan this as well. So the third thing that I'll do when I start my day is I'll go through all of these feeds quickly. I'll ignore my aggregate feed because it concludes a lot of BS stuff that I follow, like boarding area for mileage hacks. And I'll just focus when I'm in my trading zone. I'll focus on these three feeds and then Reuters to get my top news headlines that I feel like I need to be aware of. And then I'll also check the major news websites, like CNBC.com is a really good news website for all of the major themes, like Dow soaring. When I woke up this morning, it said Senate approved the debt deal, and some of the major big topics that you should be aware of. And then I also really like Bloomberg.com and WallStreetJournal.com. And some of people like Market Watch. But if you kind of just look at the headlines, overall, you'll get a good sense of what everyone thinks is the big story that that the market is paying attention to, and you should be paying attention to for the day. So just glance through the headlines. You don't even need to really read the article, because usually the headline says it all. But if you want to look at the article, kudos to you. You're doing a much better job in a deeper dive. But if you're just following this 10-minute routine, then scan the calendar, look at the charts to see where market sentiment is. Look at TweetDeck to make sure you haven't missed any breaking comments or news that won't be covered by the major mainstream. Like, CNBC or Market Watch is not going to say Lagarde says they need to continue to raise interest rates, which, could be the reason why euro is stronger. But, TweetDeck, Forex Live will cover that. And lastly, I will share with you my personal favorite what I spend the most time on is I spend the most time on reading my good friend Mark Chandler's morning piece. And he usually posts around 6 a.m. So by the time I'm ready to trade, he's already posted. And he writes a very, very deep article covering everything I think you need to know about market fundamentals for the day. And I highly encourage you to read him. This is probably the biggest part of the 10 minutes should be spent, reading his article or skimming, the bolded headlines to the sections that you want to read, because he will cover everything that I think is valuable to know, and also give you the correct interpretation of what you should take away from those events. After completing all the steps in this 10-minute routine, you'll have a deeper understanding of the context driving the day's price movements. This includes recognizing the catalysts of certain currencies outperforming others and understanding why the market may be overlooking a significant piece of data in favor of a broader narrative. You can also use this information to decide whether to take or pass on a trade. If there's a big event on the calendar coming up, you may want to wait for that to happen before taking on a position. Also, big stories can introduce more volatility in the market, so you may want to adjust your risk management accordingly. In the world of trading, information is power. Staying ahead of the curve by being well informed about the big stories gives traders a competitive edge, and everyone can use an edge when it comes to trading. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our channel and the alert button to be notified of new posts. Also, if you want to trade with me every day and learn how I use fundamental tools to trade, check out the links below.